Great to have you here. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being here on time. So, I'm Dror. I'm quite international. I was born in Switzerland. I grew up in France. I work in many countries. And since 10 years now, back in Switzerland, I'm married with two children. As a professional part, I I worked 20 years into the corporate life. I was inside a technology and communication company, a 1 billion company. I started as their first job as a sales guy, and I grew up inside this company and until the executive committee. As different role, I was MD. As executive role, I was MD, and my last role was a CEO of a 100 million perimeter in Switzerland, Italy, Germany, and Austria. So I experienced boarded in a different way. For me, mostly it was internal board, but through my activity now since 4 years, I'm an executive coach, so I'm working with aspiring C-level and existing C-level. And so through my customer, I had chances also to experience a lot of different way to address and to work with board. So what we are going to see today is the agenda will be around looking about the data and the literature, moving to the three main blind spots we have as executive when we move to board role or executive team, what we use in corporate usually to improve, which will be mostly the feedback, and why this feedback is not always the best way to progress. And then I have a frame for you that will help you to change anything you want to change, especially your behavior at any age and with any experience, which is a very difficult thing to do, by the way. So if you see the slide here, what got you here won't get you there is the famous sentences. So on the left side, you may be already a C-level, or you may be an aspiring C-level. You may be already into sitting into a board, or you want to sit into an external board. For any of these type of experience, there is one thing in common, is that we have accumulated a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge based on our career. Usually it's not a situation that we get at the beginning of our career. So, and all have the same path, which is acquiring this experience. It's the paradox is it won't always serve us. Part of this experience is a very interesting thing, and part of it sometimes is the part that will disturb us. With this experience, we have acquired a capability to solve a lot of things, and part of the paradox is often when we see new problem, we associate that to our experience. We believe we recognize something that we have already done, and then we jump in order to show our value into what I call the advice monster, and or the chief problem solver. And when we go to this direction, it's not the best way to show our value inside an executive career or a board role, an internal or an external board role. What we can do instead of that is surely focus more on the big picture, asking the right question, and empowering others. I have a good news and a bad news for you. The good news is we can all change. It's feasible. The bad news is changing as an adult with this type of experience, and it's one of the most difficult things to do, changing behavior. So what does the literature is telling us on those challenges? We say that around 50 to 60% of executives fail within 18 months of a major promotion. At McKinsey, they say 46% of transition are considered disappointment. in the Center for Creative Leadership, they say the first cause is almost never a lack of skill, but it's a behavioral blind spot. And we all know, well, that's from the beginning of our career. Um, the passage from when we are an expert and we start to lead people, for example. I remember I was 23 when I moved from a sales guy, my first job, to leading the team. I haven't asked anything. My leadership put me into this situation, and it didn't went well. I made a lot of mistakes, and those mistakes were based on my expertise, but not on my behavior that I should have adapted for this type of new role. And this type of paradox is following us each time that we grow to the next level. What got you, what got you here won't get you there. That's part of this famous book also. So today we will dig into the three most common behavior where we can behavioral blind spot. If you want to go more of that, I already said that 2 times, but I saw this book, which is What Got You Here Won't Get You There, from Marshall Goldschmidt, which is my mentor, was my mentor when I was a leader, and he became my mentor when I started to coach people. And he speak about those 20 blind spots that we accumulate at executive level. So it's a book I really recommend. So let's move to the first one. Checking that, yes, we are there. Checking if you see the right things. So adding too much value, or we can also say trying to win all the time. So it's with a good intention. When we think about our experience with our team, we all have these things in mind where the marketing director come to you, he has a new campaign, you want to develop a new vertical, you love the idea, you were thinking about this idea, you are so excited you don't even let him finish, and you add, have you thought about, or what about that one? And you just lost the battle by doing these small things. You try to improve the idea by 5 or 10%, but by doing so, you lose his accountability. He came with an idea and he get out of your office by feeling that it's not anymore his idea. So we need to be very cautious with how we bring our idea and how we do not lose the accountability that goes with. What I just said as part of an executive team, when you have this type of story, is the same things when you are a board member. When the CEO come with new strategy and you try to improve it by 5%, not using the right way to do it, you just lose his motivation and his accountability. I would even say that in a boardroom, it's worse because you do that for example, the CEO you advise, but you have your peer around you and they have experience. They were in a lot of rooms. So they spot you as the advice monster. And instead of what a good idea of bringing value, you just create tension and you lose your credibility. So I believe you may tell me, hey, Dror, shouldn't we add our ID? Isn't it part of what we need to do? Yes, it's part of what you need to do. It's even your mission. The question is how you do that. So soft skills here are the most important. When we speak about this behavioral modification or change, is really not on the technical part. You surely have all the knowledge if you are inside this type of advisor position. The question is how you bring this knowledge, and that's your mission. It's your ability to convince without authority. And so my view here, there is two conditions for that one. Going for it only if your idea make a big difference. If not, you create more difficulty than success. So if your idea make a big difference, go for it. The second thing is if you decide to go for it on the right way. So there is a difference in between pushy and in between offering an idea, which could be something into those directions. I love the direction you take. And in the same time, I see a 30% gap in our pipeline, in our workflow, in whatever, in our transformation. Um, Help me to go through that one and help me out, describe me how you are going to close this gap. And that's open a great discussion where potentially the person has already the answer, and then you bring more clarity to the table, and clarity create accountability. Or either they don't, and they are the right people, and they will ask themselves the right question. And here you were very, very helpful as an advisor, as a board member, as an executive member. You were very helpful because you resurface what is very important. So the first reason independent directors are getting pushed out is often because they try to run the company instead of advising it into the right way. So you may tell me, but, Dror, and I insist on the but, and it's exactly the second most common blind spot that we have is that's the point in leadership. We all understand it. The difficulty is not to understand it. I never met someone, including me, who do not understand a leadership concept. I read more than 12 times The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. A great book I recommend to you. There is one principle which is seek first to understand, then to be understood. It is a simple principle. We understand it as soon as we read it, but applying it, it's a very difficult story. So on that one, so when I say starting our sentences with but or no, however, Marshall always tell me a nice story about that. He has coached 30% of the CEO of Fortune of the Fortune 500 company. So very big name. And when we come to this concept of do not start your sentence with no, but however, they're all convinced, as I am, as we all are, that we don't do that. And so he has a nice way to introduce it. He said, okay, let's put a bucket, and each time that you will use during the session, no, but however, you will choose an amount that you will put inside and send to your best charity, $5, $20, depending of whatever. And they are convinced they will not do it. And they all end saying it in between 5 to 25 times during the session. So there is a big difference in between knowing and practicing it. And the need to win a lot, I can illustrate it. Like recently I'm coaching a CEO, and I was observing him during a working session with his team. So it was easy for me because I was an observer, so I can see a lot of things. And here you can see strongly the need to win, even when it's not an important point. He was passing a message and using a metaphor, for example. And the team was quite okay with the idea and what they want to do. So one of the executives was discussing or pointing out that the metaphor could be different, etc. And then they ended up together discussing the metaphor and trying to win each of them the argument. That's not needed. They were out of the point. They were out of their strategy. They were out of the most important point. Now, when I say this story, you say, they are very strange. How could they do that? They are very, very intelligent people with PhD and with a lot of knowledge and experience. So technically, they are very, very good. In this case, they just try to win too much. And that's the first things we find into executive role is we want to win too much. So again, you may tell me now, shouldn't we fight for our ideas? Because in this case, if we don't fight, we never do. Again, only when it's worth it, only for the essential. Choose your battle. And now, when you do it, that's the most important way, is how you do it. So listen more, ask questions, use and instead of but. So remember, in a room full of former C-level CEO, which is usually the population you find into a boardroom, but and the way you bring your ID destroy your influence. And the only things you add is your influence to pass your ID. And that brings us to the next one, the third one. So third blind spot is our willingness to fix every single point. And one of the things here is question versus fixes. In the book of Callum that you may have read, Boardroom Blueprint, I think the title is, he often mentioned noses in, fingers out. I think it's a very good thing to remember. We have a mission where we are sitting or where we are leading an executive team, or we are part of an internal board, or we are part of an external board. We have to mirror, helping the people reflect on what they want to do, helping them find clarity. And when we get the clarity, we have to push them to the accountability. So it doesn't mean that you are the nice guy who doesn't do anything, and so you have super behavior, but you don't make things moving. You have to make the things moving, influencing in the right way. And mirroring, bringing clarity and creating accountability is a good way to do it. So the way is more with question, and usually open question. What, how, why, when, where, who. So it's just trying to bring the topic in different way and to clarify it for everyone. And then when there are some gaps or when we want to go deeper, we can use type of openers like tell me about that, describe, explain me, help me understand, walk me through those type of things. That will help the person and yourself to better understand the topic before we come to what next. And usually that brings us to what next, because we together agree about what could be the next step. And that's where you ask, okay, now that we agree on this follow-up, when it will be done, what are going to be the next step, and how do you want to deploy it? So I like this idea of using the question by mirroring, creating clarity, and clarity bring accountability. As often with this concept of leadership, we agree with them. But then now, how do we change? So one of the things, if you were part of corporate, or if you are part of corporate, is we often use the feedback methodology, which is a good thing. It's important that we can share and give our view. And the more we go up, which is the case for you, if you aspire as a C-level, or if you are a part of the board, or the more, or the CEO who is the person you are advising, the more you go up, the more the person has what I call isolation. So they don't have a lot of option to get this feedback. But usually what we do in corporate is we will do a 360. I'm sure you all have done something in these things. Then we get the result, then we read it, and then nothing. We come back to our daily life, which is one of the things. There is no follow-up and there is no commitment of what we want to improve. And so feedback in this case, and also the feedback by its essence, I would say, is backward looking. So often, if you will use the feedback to help you, the leader you want to advise or to help to grow, it make them defensive. And one of the things is we cannot change the past. Things also for you when someone gives you a feedback. often if we fall into the yes, but, because, etc. So a better way of doing it is to use feedback for 20% and to use what I call feed forward for 80%, which is much easier to get because we don't look about what passed, we look about where we can have impact, what we can change in the future. So it's easier for everyone to deliver it and also for the person who receive it to take the most of it. And whatever we agreed to change, follow-up will be a very important part. And so when we speak about delivering feedback, sometimes we forget ourselves. And any change, any improvement starts with us. So if we don't start, we cannot advise the other. There is a terminology in Japanese, I love this concept, called guru, which is the upward spiral. I love this idea. We all want, naturally, we all want to grow. So it starts with us. Example is not the main things in influencing, or the other is the only thing. So imagine as a board member, you go and ask the chairman of the board or the CEO you advise, and you ask them, okay, when we look about the next 6 months, one specific area where you want me to focus, where I can create more impact, where it will be helpful for you. So by doing so, and give me 2 suggestions. So by doing so, you are integrating them and you show your willingness to progress, which when you will give some suggestion, it will be easier. And in your influence, you want to influence and help and support the CEO, the team member, the peer, the board member, etc. So now come the question is, how do we make a change with more chances of success? And that's what I call the frame I use. So this frame, I will argue by experience. I do that with my customer and I have 100% success rate. I will argue that you can change any behavior, any habit at any age and with any experience. So surprisingly, it's also starting with a 360. I love to do behavioral interview when I collect the information in a real interview, and then I give them back by thematic to my customer. The big difference here is you cannot change all the things at once. You have to select one thing and you have to commit on it. Again, it's not enough to understand what you have to change. You have to practice it, and practice comes with commitment after commitment. The other things which is different is you'll have to show vulnerability. So you have to communicate that to your stakeholder. It looks like, let's say, one of the things you want to change is to become a better listener. We all need to become a better listener. So you will come back to your stakeholder and you will officially say, hey guys, thank you for your feedback and suggestion. I got the report, I read it, and there is one thing I really want to improve, and I need your support. I want to become a better listener. That's why I will ask you feed-forward suggestion on a monthly basis. And what is a feed-forward suggestion is we are together in a meeting. At the end of the meeting, I will say, hey, Dror, we were together inside this meeting. You know that I'm trying to become a better listener. Give me 2 suggestions of improvement for my future. Now, if you have few stakeholders, you collect those improvement suggestions, and you will again focus on one of them. Another things I do into the frame is I do mini survey during the process to see how the change is working. And it's not me deciding if the leader has changed. It's not the leader who is self-congratulating himself. It's the stakeholder. From -3 to +3, how much Dror has evolved into his ability to better listen. So that's another option. And so that's the frame in order to be able to change and do progress. Now you will say, oh, but I cannot do that because I don't have a coach or I cannot afford and etc. etc. You don't need to have a coach and you can start it from tomorrow. And then, by the way, I have a challenge and a gift for you. So the challenge is, as we have seen today, leadership is not theory, it's practice. So I would challenge you to look about something you want to improve. Take back something you got into your 360 or because based on what you know, and select few stakeholder and go and see them and just tell them, I'm trying to become a better listener, whatever you want to improve. Give me 2 suggestions and follow up on those suggestions and start to put that in practice. And what does it mean, putting that in practice? I call it the intention, the practice, and the self-evaluation, the formula, the magic formula. So the intention is in the morning, I want to become a better listener. Let's have a look on my agenda. Where do we have a chance to practice that today? Takes you less than 2 minutes to think about that. Okay, and then you make a mental memory point to say, that's what I will try to improve today. The practice, doing it. And then in the evening, asking yourself, what did I do? How it went? What I have succeeded? What I can do better? If you do that, you are sure to remain focused on this behavior you are trying to improve. And with the time, you are going to improve it. So that's for the challenge, and I suggest you do that for 30 days. But I have also a gift for you. Charlene maybe has already, let me check, but she has already put, or she will put a link into this chat and send it also by email. And then here you can click on it and you will have the ability to subscribe first to a newsletter, which will be around the topic we're speaking about, but also I will select 5 people and I will offer a full, powerful coaching hour. What does it mean? You can, so for the first 5, or the selection I will do on the 5, you come with your most challenging topic, your most important problem actually, and we'll do a session as a sparring partner, and we will co-create your option and your action plan on that one. So if you're interested, just put your name on it. We arrived to the end of that one. Thank you very much for your listening, and let's see if there are any questions you would like me to answer. If not, we will stop it there. So I'm checking, you see me checking on the side, I will have a look on that one. So please feel free, if you have questions, to put them into the panel. I see we have people from Singapore, from Europe, UK. Switzerland, Geneva. Can I even ask your question in French? You have surely spoke my French accent. Again, Singapore. I love this one for frenzy. At the same time, love that. As an alternative for but. It's often used, and I love that. Congrats. So there is a question. Let me try to understand it before I try to answer it. Yeah, so there is a question about Ganesh, about the 5% that destroy 100% of the ownership. So what structure do good questions follow when we as a board have unaddressed concern over the proposal brought forth by the management? So there is no clear and direct way to do it, but one part is to address it, saying that we see a gap or we see some challenges here, and we would love to that the leader will walk us through the gap and the challenge. Now, we may we may be right, or they may be right, but that will open a discussion. One concept I really love is when you do that with vulnerability. Even if you have an idea and you have concern, now when you ask the people to walk you through, potentially they might not convince you, and then you enter into because you believe into this idea. So now that's where you try to convince the other people to go to a different direction. Be cautious, do that if it's really worth it and if you really believe in your idea. But you also need to be honest. And when you make the walk through exercise, maybe you will find that their idea are better than the one you had in mind. Or maybe when they start the walk through, they will think about more things and your concern will disappear. So if it's the case, it's also very fair to say that to the person. I've started this discussion with something different in mind, but you have convinced me, and I think it's a good idea. Let's go for that, Ganesh. So this type of process, trust will be very respectful and in the same time, very pushy when needed. The idea is not to become someone who says yes to everything. It is to better understand, seek first to understand, then try to be understood. And inside this process, there could be many things that will happen. I hope Ganesh it answers your question. That's an interesting question coming from Palliater. How to formulate my unique strengths and communicate them clearly to potential customers. So there is many ways to communicate to our customer. I don't know if you speak about something you write or if it's when you have discussion. I'm a big believer at this level that it's through exchange and discussion. And I'm a big believer also that we fall into a trap of me. So when we have this interesting discussion with potential prospect, we try to understand how we are going to pass our value, our strength. To my view, it's not really necessary because if we do a 15-minute call to get in touch with someone, the main thing is to understand their world. When we understand their world and when we listen with attention, they might open up a bit on challenges they have. Now, when they open up on challenges they have, how you communicate your strengths, you take the challenges, and if you have knowledge, competency, skill, you make the bridge on how you see option here. And that's create very interesting conversation where it's not you selling your strengths, it's them willing to know more about you. So that will be my way of doing it. Oh, we have people from Memphis. We have people from Israel. Hi, Leon. You may have recognized my name, Dror. We have greeting from Bangkok, again, Geneva, Malawi, Ghana. Okay, there is a question here, an interesting one from Joyce. I hope I say it from the Joyce. I think it's Joyce. I would like to know the leadership skill one need to build to move from the finance role to the CEO role. Oh, that's an important one. Mostly the soft skill, as a CFO, yes, from the finance. So as a CFO, you have developed a lot of incredible skill around analysis, finance, figures, number, forecast. So all those skills are very crucial for becoming a CEO of a company. In the same time, they cannot be enough. Most of your things will be to be able to see the big picture, to create a strategy, and all those type of things goes also with your ability to communicate, to exchange, to understand the other, to find idea, to select the right idea. So the best part is to become more well-rounded, keep building around the skill of the finance, and really working on the soft skill, developing your influence inside the company, and then playing the game of trying to grow internally or externally. People from Atlanta. Another question here. Change relies on people being open so that's a question from Alex. Change relies on people being open, willing, wanting to change. In my experience, 360 are used badly and aggressively. That make people defensive and and not and not want to change. How do you engage them properly? Um, I have a simple principle on that one. You cannot help someone to change if he does not want to change. That's as simple as that one. So normally we are all built with the willingness to change. That's the guru principle from Japan, which is the upward spiral. So I trust as human, we are all willing to grow. Sometimes we are not into the period of time or we don't have the willingness to make any move. So if you have, I do not accept to work with a customer who is not willing to grow because it's obvious I won't be able to help him. So first is selection. You can only invest time only on people who want to grow and make it clear. And what does it mean? If it's for structure, it does not mean that you let people down, but that's not the period of growth for them. Then at specific level with their leader, if they are point that they don't want to change and it's create a lot of structure, that's the role of the leader to help them see that it's time to change. I hope it answers your question, Alex. We have another question here. What are the differences in executive coaching and negotiation at the boardroom? So what is the difference in executive coaching? It's two very different things. In coaching, I do not negotiate with my customer. I don't. I'm helping them to reflect on their own challenge, asking them hopefully the right question, which will help them to create insight, which will be their plan. So that's a different things. And then at boardroom, there are time of the decision, it might be the negotiation part. There are time of the influence. So the time of the influence is where you use question. So coaching can be used in leadership at every level, including at board level. But there are surely certain situations, and you are not only in a coaching mode. There will be time where it's the only we have passed those coaching time, and we are now, so which I call the coaching time, the influence time, and we are now time of the decision. So as a board, you will play all your cards, trying to influence and then trying to win the decision when you believe it's the right decision. You're welcome, Ganesh. I have another question from Juanita. Do you agree that small companies are now using 360-degree assessment internally as a performance indicator rather than engaging with a third party? Maybe I would say I don't know. I don't have the view on what a lot of small companies are doing. Hopefully, the idea, the intent, I hope it's not this one. But yes, there are surely some companies which are doing it in the wrong way and some companies which are doing it in the right way. I cannot answer specifically this one. I have a follow-up of Palliator, which say, okay, I understand that I shouldn't go for me, but how do I get in front of the right people? Um, I still have a view on that one. I really believe. I believe as a human person, I believe in connection. And so you may see my profile. There is 30,000 followers and all the things. But despite that, so I get inquiry of people coming to me. But despite that, every day I'm entering into contact with people I'm interested, and I found those people interesting, and I start those conversations with simple human ability, which is often going from I have a question for them, sometimes a provocative question, sometimes a reflective question, and that's enter into nice, interesting conversation. I believe that if you whatever you do, you always so if you are a leader, sometimes you look for people, and just entering into contact, you can build a bunch of people who can work with you later. So I always had this habit to connect with people. When you are in businesses like mine, services, or when you want to have a board roles, or entering with your ideal type of connection. And I go through it with the simple way, which is connecting with people. As a coach, I see that most of the coaches do not succeed to earn their life with this very, very, very nice job. And that's unfortunate. And most of the time is based on their lack of ability to develop connection. So it was not my first things when I started to coach, but now more and more people who are selling services are coming to me, and I'm helping them with a sprint of 3 to 6 months to help them fulfill their pipeline. And I love to say that I do that without trying to sell. I help them to do that through real connection with people. So entering into those small connections with people can create a lot of put you in front of a lot of people who you want to work with. Hope it's helping, Palliata. Um, you're welcome, Maurice. You're welcome, Alex. Thank you, Juanita. I have another question from Betty. In HR, especially in a location which is far away from the leaders and key stakeholders who are far away, how to develop the ability to influence them? It's a very important question. You're right. Being next to the people, it's much more helpful for the conversation. In the same time, what I see more and more is the use of the technology. Today, we are connecting together. We ask each other questions, even if we don't see each other. And now the digitalization helps us to do all those things. So for sure, maybe sitting with someone and shaking hands would be much better. But through through Zoom and call, we can develop a lot. So it's my answer to you is through conversation, even if it's in a digital way. Put the camera, look about the camera, see each other into the eyes, and have the uncomfortable conversation. Go for them, and that will create your influence. By the way, uh, I'm working with CEOs and C-level all around the world, and usually we will meet physically once during the project, and the rest we do digitally. Hope it answered your question, Betty. We arrive to the end of that one. Thank you, everyone. I see that you are sharing and giving positive vibe. It was a very nice experience. Thank you all for being there. And I wish you a great day. So I trust the call will be ended, and Sherilyn will put a link if you want to connect with me, and especially if you want also to be part of the specific offer I did for the Viblen people. I wish you a great day wherever you are in the world. See you next time. Bye bye.